this person that you knew was Eric? February the 25th. February the 25th? Yes. Of what year? 2019. How do you remember that it was that date? I just remember because like I had to pay my phone bill that day, and that's like kind of like the only way. And I kind of know, like, because I try to keep up with the date, you know, when I meet a guy, I try to keep up with the date if it was kind of like, if we were doing anything to keep up with my cycle, stuff like that. So that's how I know it was the date. You know that you met him on February 25th, 2019, correct? Correct. And you met him because you provided some transportation for him, is that correct? Correct. And while you were providing transportation for him, you had a conversation with him that led to an exchange of phone numbers. Is that how it happened? Yes. And from that point on, you started some kind of relationship. Is that true? True. How would you describe your relationship from the time you met him on February 25th up until March 31st before anything bad happened that day? How would you describe, if someone said on March 30th, for example, the day before, if someone said to you, what kind of relationship do you have with Eric? How would you answer that question? It was just more like, I would say like a friend level, but it was kind of like more associate too. What does that mean? Associate means like somebody, they just like, they're not really calling you their boyfriend or girlfriend. They just kind of work with you when they want to work with you. Okay, so you wouldn't describe it as a dating relationship. Is that what you're saying? Yes. It was not a dating relationship in your mind? Right. Because what makes a dating relationship? What has to be there before you would call it a dating relationship? Me, like personally, like if he take you around somebody, a guy take you around somebody and he introduced you like, oh, this is my girl or whatever. He never introduced me like that or whatever. It was just like I had introduced myself. So whenever you were around people that he knew, you would have to introduce yourself? Yes. How often did you see each other in that time period from the time you met to March 31st? Every other day. And what would you do with him every other day during that time period? What kind of activities did you guys engage in? Go to the beach, ride the city, listen to music, rap music, drink some time, Hennessy, go out to eat. We'll go like out to eat, like restaurants like Red Lobster, Fridays, and then like a cafe, and then we'll do like fast food or something. Were you working 2 jobs during this period of time? Yes. So when you testify that you would see him approximately every other day, these wouldn't be all-day events, would they? No. Would it be sort of an hour here, a couple hours there, that kind of thing, or something else? Sometimes it would be like 30 minutes, 20 minutes, sometimes not that long because I work. So during the week, it would be like maybe an hour. Did you, and I'm not trying to embarrass you, but I've asked you this question before, did you have any kind of intimate relationship with him? Do you know what I mean by that? Yes. Okay, did you? Yes. And so there's no ambiguity. When I say intimacy, I mean of a sexual nature. Yes. Did you tell me before coming into the room when we spoke on a prior occasion that you didn't feel that he was very affectionate towards you? Yes, I did. What did you mean by that? He didn't like hold my hand and stuff like that. Like he'll hug me sometime, but not all the time, and we never kissed. Never in the entire time you knew him? Never. Did you want to kiss him? Yeah, I kissed him on the forehead. Did you find it odd that he wouldn't kiss you? Yes. Did you ever have a conversation about that? No. Did you know where he lived? Did you learn where he lived? When I first picked him up, or at some point in your relationship or the time that you knew him, did you learn where he lived? Did you ever go to his house? Yes. Okay, did he live someplace outside of the city of Los Angeles? Yes. And, okay, do you want to take a break here? Yes. All right, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I think at the break I asked if you knew where Eric Holder lived, or at what point you learned where he lived. Do you recall that question? Yes, I recall. Okay, how long did you know him before you learned where he lived? I don't understand the question. Okay, did you become aware of his home address the first day you met him? Yes. Without telling us where he lived, Did he live close to where you were living at the time? Where I was about to move at, I was moving at the time where he lived at. Okay, and was that just by coincidence that you were moving to an area close to where he was already living? Correct. Where were you moving prior to moving? Were you living with your mother? Yes. Were the two of you living, say, within 5 miles of where he lived or farther? Yeah, about a mile, about that. It's like around the corner, something like that. Something like here, you go around the corner, like that close. That's where your mother lived? Yes. Okay, so that sounds like it's not 5 miles. It sounds like it's a lot shorter than 5 miles. Yeah, it is. Let me ask you this. Could you walk from his house to your mother's house? Yes. So it was that close? Yes. Could you walk there in 15 minutes? Less. All right. Now that's a lot shorter than 5 miles. Oh, okay. Did he at some point become aware of your mother's address? When? I'm asking you, did he ever learn where your mother lived? When I knew him? Yes. When I first met him? No, at any time during the time you knew him, did he become aware of the address where your mother lived? Yes. Did you in fact bring him to the home you were sharing with your mother? Yes. How long had you known him? From February 25th, in terms of weeks, how long had you known him before you brought him to your mother's house? A week or two. Did he meet your mother? Yes. So within 2 weeks, you were introducing him to your mother, is that correct? Correct. Is that because you really liked him, or why did you do that? He suggested it. What do you mean by that? He asked me, he wanted to meet my mom. He was just like, I want to meet your mom. How long did you know him before he made that suggestion or asked for that? A couple of days after I met him. Did you find that odd? Yes, I did. I thought it a little odd, but then I was just like, I never had a guy ask me, can he meet my mom? So maybe he wanted to be serious with me. I didn't. I wasn't thinking about him meeting my mom. Okay, so when he asked that question, did you have any concerns about introducing your mother to somebody that you barely knew? No, it was just like I was just going to go ahead and let her meet him and see what my mom say. So in the period of time that you knew him, we're talking a little bit over a month from February 25th to March 31st. Did you ever go to his apartment? Yes. Approximately how many times? 10. Did he live alone or with someone? His uncle lived there, but every time I came over, he wasn't there. But, he'll come sometimes, his uncle, and spend the night, but it was like he wasn't there. He wasn't there, but he said he lived there, his uncle. Okay, you just confused me with he wasn't there, but he was there. Oh, what I'm trying to say is he would spend the night there, his uncle, but it didn't seem like he'd be there all the time. Okay, so from the times or the way that you would see his uncle come and go, it didn't appear he was living there, but he would come over from time to time? Yes, and spend the night. Did you ever interact with that person? No, I didn't really talk to him. Did he ever talk to you, seem interested in getting to know you? Yeah. And? Is that a yes? Yes, and Eric kind of didn't want him talking to me, cut out the conversation when he did try to talk to me. Okay, did you find that odd? Yeah. Did you say something to Eric about that? No. Have you ever seen him with his shirt off, meaning Eric? Just that day. I only seen him with his shirt off that day. Which day? March 31st. The day of the shooting? Yes. So from the time that you knew him, you never saw him with his shirt off? No, just with a tank top. That's the furthest I seen him with it off. Now, you testified that over the month that you knew him, you had some sexual intimacy with him, and I assume that means at least on one occasion, full sexual intercourse. Is that correct? Correct. Was it just one occasion that you had that kind of sex with him? Yes. So did you have an opportunity to see him without his shirt on at that time? No, he had his clothes on. Let me show you an exhibit that's been previously marked as Grand Jury Exhibit number 8. Do you recognize what's shown here? Okay, I'm sorry, Madam Foreperson, if you would raise the monitor for the witness. Yes, I'm so sorry. A little bit more. Yes, perfect, thank you. Do you recognize what's shown in this exhibit? With his shirt off? No. Do you recognize what this picture shows? What it's a picture of? No. Okay, do you know the person in that picture? Yes. Who is that? Eric. Okay, do you know when this picture was taken? March the 31st. The same day as the shooting? Yes. How do you know that that picture was taken on that day? That's the day that he had his shirt off, and I remember the bandana around his neck. Okay, what about the pants and the shoes? Do you recognize that he was dressed that way on that day? Yes. Okay, now as we look at this picture, it looks like he has quite a few tattoos that we can see on the front of his torso and his arms. Do you see those tattoos? Yes. When was the first time after meeting him that you saw the tattoos on his chest and stomach? The second day. Okay, what tattoos did you see on the second day? The LA, the money bag, and I remember seeing the gift on the arm. Okay, do you see that device on the table in front of you? Yes. It's a laser pointer, the top button only. You don't have to point at the screen, just press the button and look at the screen. Okay, you see the cursor? Hold that button down. The thing you showed me? Top one. Can you move it? Point it over. There you go. Oh, show us the area where you saw the tattoos on him at any time before the 31st. Right here, the LA, it's kind of covered up, but I saw he has a LA right here. You're pointing to like his neck, the middle throat area? Yeah, it's like where he got the bandana tied at. Okay, and you saw the initials LA? Yes. Like the Dodgers logo LA? Yes. Okay, what else did you see? I seen this, the money bag. And you're pointing to a money symbol in the middle of his chest? Yes. Directly in the middle of his chest. What else did you see? The gift on his arm? You're pointing to the word gift on his left arm? Yes. What else did you see? That's it. And it's your testimony that on that day of the shooting, he was dressed as he is in the photograph, correct? Correct. Do you know where this photograph was taken? Master Burger. Okay, how do you recognize that? By the red bench. Okay, did you have an opportunity to see into the Master Burger on that day that you were at the parking lot? No, just a little glimpse. I didn't go inside. Okay, I want to show you another exhibit. This is Grand Jury Exhibit number 16. It appears to be 2 photos of Eric showing his arms, his chest, and his torso. You can see the tattoos a little bit here. Is that right? Yes. So do you see any other tattoos more clearly in these photos that you had seen before on the 31st? Yes. Tell us about that. I seen the gun that's right here, by the gift. And you're pointing to an object tattooed under the T, sort of at the bend in his elbow on the left side? Yes. Okay, what else? That's it. Did you ask him any questions about any of those tattoos? Just one. Which one? The LA one that he has on his neck. Can we see it in these photos? Is it visible? No, it's not there. It's not there, or you can't see it from the angle that the photos were taken? I can't see it from where the angles are taken at from the photo. Okay, did you ever see the word 60s on his lower stomach? No. At some point during the time that you knew him, did you learn that he was a gang member? No. At no time? No time. When was the first that you ever heard, if at all, that he was a member of a gang? Monday on April the 1st? After the shooting? Yes. Gave him the gun. What did he do with it? I don't know, like that day, like I went back home and then I never seen the gun no more. That's when I started seeing the other guns. Okay, well, let's talk about that. Other than the first time seeing him get a gun from Harold, did you see him with a gun on any other occasions? Yes. Tell us about that. I saw him with a gun, maybe. I guess it's going on like the second week. I saw this gun. Which one? The 9 millimeter. And you're pointing to the black gun on Grand Jury Exhibit 17? What did that gun look like? What do you mean, what did it look like? The gun? It looked like Well, it was like the name on this one, like how this one says stainless right here on top. The one he had said Rug. Rug? Yes. R-U-G? Yes. Okay, so you're saying that you pointed to the black gun in Grand Jury Exhibit 17. At the top slide area of the gun is engraved the word stainless, correct? Correct. You're saying on the gun you saw Eric with, it was very similar to the gun shown on this diagram, but it had the word Rug, is that correct? Yes. Could it have been Ruger? Maybe, because I didn't really look at it like how I'm looking at this one, but I know it started with an R, and I know it was like R-U-G. I think it was Rug, but I didn't know if it had any letters after that. Okay, how many times did you see him with that gun? Maybe like 3 times or so during that week. Okay, and then after that week, did you continue to see him with that gun? No, well, yeah, but he wasn't carrying it like that, just only sometimes. Like, for instance, like when we went to LA one time, he wanted to get a hat. I seen it that time. All right, so let's clarify this. Sometime during the second week that you knew him, yes, you saw him with what you described as a black 9mm handgun that had at least R-U-G engraved at the top, correct? Correct. Sometimes you would see him carrying it on his person, and then other times you would just see it where? At his house? No, I wouldn't see it like at all. Like sometimes I would see it like, for instance, like we'd go out like I said, like I mentioned about the hat, or on riding. Sometimes we'll just go riding. I'll see it, but he wouldn't bring it all the time. If he did brought it, I didn't see it. Sometimes I'll look at him just to see if he have it or whatever. When he carried that black handgun, where on his body did he carry it? In his front? Front what? Like front of his jeans, like pants. In the waistband area of his jeans? Yes. Could you see, when he had it, obviously, in order to know he had it, you had to see some part of it, correct? Correct. What part of the gun would you see whenever you saw it in his waistband? I would see this part. The handle part? Yes. Did you ask him any questions about why he carried the gun as much as he did? No. Why not? Just because when I asked him before about the other gun, he said for safety. I just took it as that, like he was just carrying it for safety. Had you ever seen anybody try to attack him? No. Have you ever seen any situation where you thought he needed a gun to protect himself? Just like the area we live in, like, maybe. Okay, because it's a bad area, you just assumed it was okay that he'd carry a gun? Yes. And so it didn't concern you that he was carrying a gun? No. Were those the only 2 guns you ever saw him with? Yes, and besides the other one I told you about. So there's the big silver one that sort of looks like the black 9 in this exhibit, but bigger and a different color, correct? Correct. You saw him with one time? Right. And you saw him with a black gun, which you call 9mm, very similar to the gun in this diagram, a black one, and you saw him with that several times, correct? Correct. Did you see him with any other guns? No. He did have the pistol, but I never saw him with it out until March 31st. Where did you see it before March 31st? I don't know like the exact date, but one day I came over his house and it was on the couch. And tell us what you saw on the couch. I saw the pistol. The handle part right here was wrapped in duct tape, the gray duct tape. And you're pointing to the black handle of the smaller gun in the diagram? Yes. Okay. What did the top part of the gun look like? It looked like this, but it looked like it was old. Okay, and when you say it looked like this, are you talking about the finish on the gun, like a chrome or gray finish? Yeah, I'm talking about the chrome, like the paint on it. How would you describe it? What color? Like a dark gray? Did you ask him any questions about that gun? Yes, I was like, what is this doing here? He hurried up and took it in a back room at his house. Did he work at all during the time that you knew him? No, I asked him, did he have a job? He said yes, he worked at King's Restaurant, and he's not working right now because he was in a car accident, but he was still getting money, getting paid. So let me ask you a question, and it's not a judgmental question, but I want your honest response. You met a guy, yes, who did not have a job. I assume he was not in school. Is that correct? Correct. He had a lot of tattoos, correct? Correct. You saw him in possession of at least 3 different guns, one that he carried occasionally, correct? Correct. He told you he needed guns for safety, correct? Correct. He wasn't particularly affectionate towards you, didn't introduce you to people, or ever kiss you. Is that correct? Correct. Did you at any time when you were with him have any concerns for your safety? No. Why were you with him? I was just with him like if we go out or something, I'll hang out with him, but I wasn't like looking for him like as a boyfriend type. I was thinking like maybe it could have been since he wanted to meet my mom. I just thought like we were just kind of playing it by ear, getting to know each other. Did you really like him? I did like him, but not like him, like that. I just thought he was like, cool. He was cool to go out and eat with and stuff. Did you ever introduce him to any of your friends? No, my landlord knowed him, and I asked my landlord about him, though. I did question some stuff with her. I just asked her, like, did she know him? And she was like, well, don't tell us. Okay, what your landlord said. Oh, that's okay. So for the month that you knew him leading up to March 31st, you told us this morning and this afternoon some of the things that you knew about him, correct? Correct. Was he ever violent toward you in the time that you knew him? No. Has he ever threatened you? No, just the day of the shooting. Okay, we'll get to that. Okay. But up until that day, had he ever threatened you? No. Had you seen him ever being violent toward or threaten someone else? No. Did you ever see him get into any fights? No. Did he ever express any kind of violent temper with you that so much that it scared you a little bit? No. All right, so let's talk about March 31st. Did you start off that day working? Yes. How did you get together with Eric on that day? I called him after I finished working and he wanted to get something to eat from In-N-Out. Okay, is there an In-N-Out in the town where both of you were living? Yes. Okay, did you go to that In-N-Out? No. Why not? He didn't want to go to the In-N-Out. He wanted to go somewhere else. He wanted to ride to LA. How many times had you been to LA with him before the 31st? 4. On those 4 prior occasions, where in LA did the 2 of you go? We went to Santa Monica, Hollywood, in the area where the shooting was at one time, and I think it was only 3 times though. Okay, so of those 3 times, Santa Monica sounds like beach day. Yes. Is that what it was? Yes. Like a day at the beach? Yeah. What about Hollywood? What did you do there? Just kind of like went there. He got a Cowboys hat. Cowboys meaning the football team? Yes. Okay, and what else did you do? Did you walk around? Did you go to the movies, eat? No, just went there, got the hat, and just kind of like right up and down the strip. Okay, and now you said you had gone to the area of Crenshaw and Slauson with him one time before the 31st. Tell us about that. Yes, I went over there. He wanted to get a shirt from this liquor store that's not too far from the plaza where the shooting happened, and that was it. Just kind of rolled over there, got that, and then came back where we live at. When was that? Maybe like the second week or so, like the weekend, like close to the weekend, like on a Friday, like the second week in March. Yeah, like the second week in March. Okay, and tell us about this shirt. What was so special about the shirt he needed? There wasn't nothing special about it. It was like a regular shirt that you can get like local, like where we live at. When you were with him in that area on that occasion, did he make any stops anywhere or talk to anybody in the neighborhood? No, he wanted to stop and get a Crenshaw shirt also that day too, but I was like, no, I'm ready to go, back on his side. He wanted me to buy the shirt, and I was like, I'm not going to buy the shirt. Okay, and what is a Crenshaw shirt? I guess it's like a logo with the word Crenshaw running across it. I didn't really know too much about it. Did he tell you where he wanted to go purchase that shirt? He said in the area. Did you ever go to a particular place for him to buy the shirt? No. Before leaving? No. You said that he wanted you to purchase the shirt? Correct. In this relationship that you had, who did all of the driving anytime you went somewhere? I did. Who paid for things whenever you went out with him? We kind of, what you call it, like Dutch sometimes. He'll pay for some things and I'll pay for something. Was it about even, or was one person paying more than the other? Even. So you got together with him on the 31st, presumably to go get some food at In-N-Out, and then something happened to change the plans, correct? Correct. How did the plans get changed? I told him I wasn't hungry. I had already ate, so he was just like, well, we just go to LA then. Had you already eaten? Yes. And so you were going to LA. Was that for you or for him, or it was mutual? It was just like mutual. Like, it was like a Saturday, and I was like, okay, I don't mind riding out that way. What time did the two of you leave where you lived to go to LA? Around 1:30 maybe, like around 1 o'clock, something like 1:30. And did you have to pick him up from someplace? From his place. So you picked him up about 1:30 and started driving to Los Angeles, is that correct? Correct. Were you the driver? Yes. Were you always the driver of your car when you were with him? I would let him drive sometime, but just in the area, like not nowhere far. Well, I did let him drive when we got the shirt. I did let him drive over there. So there were occasions where you let him drive your car? Yes. Was there ever an occasion you let him drive your car when you were not with him? Yes. Tell us, how many times did that happen? One time. When was that? I was at work. I let him drop me off at work. Maybe this was like the third week. I let him, take my car. He said he wanted to pick up some t-shirts while I was at work. Did he have a cell phone, by the way? Yes. Did you drive straight to LA after picking him up at about 1:30? Yes. And the plan was to get something to eat? Right. How was he dressed when you picked him up? With no shirt on and a bandana around his neck? Oh, I need you to tell us your full name and then spell it for us. And speak right into that microphone. Kerry Lewis Lathan Sr. KerryLathan. Lewis, Louis. Is Lewis your middle name, sir? Yes. Okay, and did you say senior or junior? Senior. Okay, thank you, sir. There's some things that I need to go over with you before we start the questioning. The first is, and this is what I tell all of our civilian witnesses, there's some things that I need to go over with you before we start the questioning. The first is, and this is what I tell all of our civilian witnesses, it's very important that when you're testifying that you answer questions that would call for a yes or a no with a yes or a no, instead of an uh-huh or yeah, which can be somewhat ambiguous. So if I forget and I say, did you mean yes or did you mean no? I'm not trying to bug you. I'm just trying to make sure that your answer is accurately reflected in our record. Do you understand that, sir? Yes. Okay. And the next is, I'm going to ask that you wait until Mr. McKinney answers, asks the question completely, and finishes before you give us your answer, even if you think that you know what the question is, because I need to get that on record as well, okay? Yes, ma'am. Okay. Now, Mr. Lathan, I also need to put on the record that I have before me a use immunity agreement. And this indicates that you have signed this agreement and you are represented by a lawyer. And your lawyer is Lauren Noriega. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. Okay, and her name is on this also. And did you review this agreement? It's 2 pages with her fully before you signed it? Yes, ma'am. Okay, now I'm going to ask you questions about that conversation as to this immunity agreement. All right? But if your lawyer told you anything else, I don't want you to tell me what your lawyer said to you. Those communications are private, and unless you have spoken with your lawyer, I don't want you to tell us. And if you can't answer a question without saying my lawyer told me blah, 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 then you just let me know, because you're not to answer those questions. Do you understand that? Yes, ma'am. Okay, is your lawyer outside here? She was. She had to leave. Okay, do you have a phone number you can get in touch with her? Yeah, when I leave out, I've got a phone out there. Okay, because Mr. Lathan, if you, during the course of the questioning, want to ask your lawyer a question before you answer the question here, you just let me know, because I'll let you leave the hearing room so you can contact your lawyer and consult with your lawyer, and then you can come back and answer questions. Do you understand? Yes. Okay, so this agreement is between you and the district attorney's office, and this agreement indicates that you will tell the truth, and in exchange for telling the truth, anything that you say, any answers that you give to any questions that are directed to you by Mr. McKinney, if there's the possibility that there is criminal liability associated with your answer, you are not going to be prosecuted. Is that your understanding of this agreement? Yes, ma'am. Okay, and did you review that with your lawyer? I did. And did your lawyer tell you and advise you of all of your rights? Yes, ma'am. Did your lawyer tell you that you have to tell the truth for this agreement to be in effect? Yes, ma'am. Did your lawyer tell you that if you do not tell the truth, then this agreement is null and void and you can be prosecuted for anything that you state here in this room? Yes, ma'am. And you understand all of those things? Yes, ma'am. And any questions you had, did you direct them to your lawyer during your conversation or conversations with your lawyer concerning the immunity agreement? Yes, ma'am. Do you have any questions now? Can I go call her and tell her they're starting? Absolutely. I'll have Mr. McKinney wheel you out and you can just call her and tell her that we started, if that's what you would like to do, and then you'll come back in. Okay. Right. Mr. Lathan, did you have an opportunity to call your lawyer? I did. Okay, and were all of your questions answered? Is everything okay? Are you ready to testify? Yeah. Yes? I'm sorry. Yes. Okay, perfect. And again, if during the questioning you need to speak to your lawyer again, just let me know, okay? Okay. All right, I think I finished asking you questions regarding the immunity agreement. And just say again, you signed it, your lawyer signed it, and then maybe that's Mr. McKinney's signature. It looks really difficult to decipher, but did you sign it and your lawyer? Yes, ma'am. Okay, and if you have any questions again, let me know, all right? So at this point, Madam Foreperson, with your permission, may Mr. McKinney proceed? Yes. Is he under oath? He was. She swore him in. Yeah. Okay, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. Let's start getting a little bit of information about you. How old are you? 56. Were you born in Los Angeles? Texas. Where? Houston, Texas. Okay, when did you come to Los Angeles? As a child, baby. Did you go to school here? I did. What part of LA did you grow up in? South Central. You were away from Los Angeles for a very long period of time, is that correct? Yes. You were in prison from 1996 until September of 2018 based on a murder conviction, is that true? That's true. Are you currently on parole? Yes, I am. Were you paroled in September of 2018? Yes, sir. And you came out to a very different world than the one you left, correct? Very different. When you got paroled in September of 2018, were you already aware or were you made aware of a person named Nipsey Hussle? I heard him a few times on the radio, on TV. Was that before you got out of prison or after? Before I got out of prison. And did you know he was from your old neighborhood? Not so much as that. He was a celebrity. I was looking at his celebrity status. It had nothing to do with any of that. Okay, so you knew who Nipsey Hussle was, but you didn't know he was connected to South LA, is that correct? To that degree, no. What does that mean, to that degree? Well, I wasn't knowledgeable until after he passing how everything swirled around, and I was like, okay. So in other words, what you were saying is you got to know a lot more about him after he passed? Right. Okay, what I'm asking is when you got out, before you got out of prison, other than knowing he was an artist, did you know anything else about him? No. Okay, after you got out, did you get to know him a little bit better than you did while you were in prison? Yes. Tell us about that. Well, my play sister went up to his shop and got a whole bunch of clothes for me from him. Okay. I hadn't met him or anything, but she said, hey, Nipsey looked out for you. Sweats, pants, shoes. I said, okay, thank you. Okay, now before you went to prison, were you a Rolling 60s gang member? Yes, sir. Okay, and that was the gang that operated in the area that you were from, correct? Yes, sir. And is it your testimony that after you got out of prison, you got some kind of care package or clothing package from Nipsey Hussle that I had never met? And it was a donation basically to you? Basically. All right. And was this facilitated through, you said, your play sister? So you're nodding your head. Is that a yes? Yes, ma'am. So that's somebody you knew, correct? Yes. So I just want to remind you, sir, you've been interrupting Mr. McKinney before he's been able to finish his question. If you guys were having a normal conversation, that's exactly what people do. But I need you to wait just a minute and let him finish the question and then answer it, because it makes it a little harder for the court reporter if he interrupts you or if you interrupt him, okay? And I'm not trying to make you feel uncomfortable. I just want to make sure that your answers are accurately recorded in our transcript, and that's more difficult if the court reporter doesn't get the full question, okay? Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Go ahead. Okay, so Mr. Lathan, your testimony is, first of all, let me ask you this. When you got out and got the care package from Nipsey, were you made aware that Nipsey's from the neighborhood that you grew up in? Yes. Okay, and he gave you this wonderful gift that you were happy to receive, is that correct? Yes, sir. Can you tell us, you got out in September, can you tell us approximately when you got that gift from him? About 2 weeks. 2 weeks after you got out? Yes, sir. And at some point after receiving that gift from him, did you have an opportunity to meet him and thank him? About the 3rd week.